Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the AGL Gamma 2 unit, and we're going to see just how good he is in DBZ Dokkan battle at 55% in the hidden potential system. So Gamma 2 is kind of the inverse to Gamma 1 in a sense that he's the more offensive related unit of the pairing. That's not to say he's bad defensively, he's still exceptionally good, but he's more a second slot unit than he is a first slot unit. So Gamma 2 is pretty good in terms of his overall abilities. He's movie heroes, androids or special pose lead of 3 key and 170% across the board. He also gives an additional HP, attack and defense of 30% for characters who also belong to the accelerated battle or worthy rivals category. He raises attack and defense for 1 turn and causes immense damage to the enemy. He activates the entrance animation upon entry once only, and has defense of plus 50% and launches 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance of becoming a super attack for 4 turns from the start of turn. He has attack and defense of 150% with an additional attack of 100% when performing a super attack. He also has an additional attack and defense of 20% up to a max of 100% and chance of performing a crit 10% up to a max of 50% with each attack performed. He launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack starting from the turn in which the character performs the 5th attack in battle. All allies have key plus 2 and attack of 30% with a high chance of nullifying key blast super attacks directed at the character. He's got the Innocence, Android Assault, Red Ribbon Army, Shocking Speed, Hero of Justice, Signature Pose, and Fierce Battle. And he has Androids, Movie Heroes, Artificial Life Forms, Worthy Rivals, Special Pose, Defenders of Justice, and Accelerated Battle as his categories. Very similar to Gamma 1, he has the Innocence instead of Cold Judgment. Otherwise, every other link is basically the same. His link set's pretty diverse, but when you get into it, his link set is probably relatively okay. For most of his categories, when you consider what he's going to necessarily do as a unit. So on this first team, we're running a Movie Heroes team, just to kind of see how well he can do. Generally speaking, he is going to look best on any of his teams when pairing him alongside Gamma 1, but you can still definitely run this guy as a unit without Gamma 1. You don't need Gamma 1 to make this guy look good. He is still good on his own, so you don't need to run him with Gamma 1. You can just run him on his own, and that is more than fine. So yeah, that is pretty much the basis of him. Obviously here we have him linked up. Got him in this first slot. He's got Red Ribbon Army, he's got Android Assault, which is more than fine, plus Shocking Speed. Like I said, those 2 links are pretty much all you need. You don't need a lot of links with these guys, considering how powerful each kind of individual link is, which is also one of the reasons why I think they are a very good unit. 3 million, very solid start, and he has the chance to build up his attack and defense very quickly. Because he fires 2 additional attacks, and his additional attack and defense and crit are all determined by him having extra attacks, not super attacks, it is pretty apparent that this guy's got a pretty decent speed at which he builds up. So yeah, obviously, to talk a little bit about the whole link set and everything, he has the Innocence, which is a fairly decent link attack wise. Obviously Gamma 1 had Cold Judgment, which I think would have been nice for both of them to have. But Cold Judgment thematically doesn't really suit Gamma 2 as a character. He was a lot more cocky, a lot more arrogant. He was a little bit more outspoken than Gamma 1 in the movie, so naturally I assume that's why they didn't give him Cold Judgment. Whereas Gamma 1 was a lot closer to the Piccolo archetype of character, a bit more silent, a bit more serious. So yeah, but overall, I think for the most part, you can still make Gamma 2 work pretty well. Here, we're going to see him. He's got 3 links active in this rotation, 327,000 defense. And he does have decent support here. That's not to say that there isn't decent support for this guy. But it just shows you that you don't need necessarily all the links active to see a good version of him. You can still see an incredibly good version of him without all the links active. 4.3 million as well. Very, very good. He still has a little bit of a ways to build up as well. So overall, he's looking pretty solid so far. He's going to get some additional attacks here, which is great. It's going to help to build up his crit chance. It's going to help to build up his attack and defense. So right now, he's looking pretty solid. Obviously, if you want to look at what his total boosts are and things like that, he's got a total attack boost of 460%, plus an additional attack of 740%, and defense of 500%, in which he performs the 5th attack in battle, as long as it is within the first 4 turns. So usually that is pretty common for him, just because of the fact that he's got those 2 additional attacks. In terms of build for this guy, you really do want to go only additional. 50% crit chance is more than enough. You really don't need any from the hidden potential system. And giving him additionals means that potentially you could fire up to 4 super attacks in a turn, and sometimes even 5. Because if you get to the 5th attack within the 4-turn period, he will have the 2 additional attacks, his base attack, the attack from his passive from having performed the 5th attack from battle, and also his hidden potential system will have the chance to launch an additional attack. So it is very uncommon. Obviously, it's not something that's going to happen, a lot, but it is definitely something that could happen, like in general. So yeah, obviously something very, very cool from his side. Here we can see his defense looking very solid. 6.3 million as well. We did manage to obviously get the signature pose boost and support from the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 that we have, or the Gohan and Videl. And not to mention, of course, we also managed to activate more of his links with signature pose and Hero of Justice being activated by having them on the rotation as well. So overall, some pretty nice stuff. Looking pretty solid so far. I would say, on everything considered, he's looking very, very decent. Now this is just at 55%, so obviously maxing him is going to make a big difference. 4,000 extra defense goes a long way when you're stacking it up so crazy. It's pretty nuts. Honestly speaking, he is really, really good. I think if you want to take him into the Cell Max event, you're going to probably want to have give him a defense orb at 55%. It's just going to help him kind of take the edge off. Link leveling wise, you're also probably going to want to do that. His link levels are really, 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 really good. As I mentioned before, although the links are a little bit sporadic and a little bit spread out, they're all actually very, very good within their own category. So here we're trying him on an Android's team, for example. Android Assault's a great link. When you link level, it becomes 2 key and 20% defense instead of 10% defense. Red Ribbon Army gives him additional 10% defense. Shocking Speed gives him 5% defense. Hero of Justice gives him 5% crit chance. Signature Pose gives him 7% attack and an additional key. Fierce Battle gives him 5% attack, and the Innocence gives him 5% attack. Now, getting the Innocence is actually not that difficult. A lot of Android 17 and 18 units actually weirdly have the Innocence as a link. Well, not weirdly, because I guess they were innocent before they became androids. So a lot of them do have the Innocence as a link. They also have Android Assault, a lot of Android 16s, Android 21s, Android 13s all have Red Ribbon Army. Some of them have Shocking Speed. You will find Fierce Battle on the team, so it's not impossible. The main kind of hindrance is going to be Hero of Justice and Signature Pose. Those are links that are a lot more tightly wound with Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 units, with Gotenks units, etc. So they're not links you're going to find freely, but that you will still be able to get, just not get all the time. So here we can see him looking pretty good, 200 odd thousand. Obviously we have quite a bit of defensive support on the rotation from MVP 17, who by the way is also a pretty decent link partner with this guy. So that's kind of what I meant by this guy's not limited in terms of his links. Like yes, he definitely does have a clear best linking partner. There'll be a lot of units that share 3 links with this guy, and 3 links with this guy means a lot. You know, if those 3 links are Android Assault and Red Ribbon Army, that's 30% defense, 10% attack, and 2. You really don't need anything more than that. Shocking speed, all of a sudden he's got 35% defense, pretty sorted. Or even if you just get him Hero of Justice and Signature Pose, that's 3 key and 32% attack and 5% crit chance. Fierce Battle you should always be able to realistically get. So in reality, this guy's got a pretty decent link set, honestly speaking. So for me, overall, I think he's great. I think he's a really fun and interesting unit. And personally speaking, I think he's really, really good. I think him not being a first start unit's maybe the only hindrance. But that's not really the end of the world, if you really want to get down to it. I think that's more than acceptable in most situations. You look at how quickly he's going to get up to speed and how much that's going to help out your team, and you're really not going to run into a huge kind of array of difficulties in running this guy. Like, of course, as always, you can definitely have issues running a unit, but I think genuinely speaking, this unit and Gamma 1 aren't as difficult to run alongside other units as people make them out to be. They're not necessarily going to run perfectly. They're not going to have 6 links active or 5 links active with a lot of units. Even 4 links is a bit of a stretch. There's a clear divide in their linking pattern. But with that being said, they excel in so many different categories. They get up to speed so quickly. They're so strong. And they're just so good as units that it's very difficult to kind of measure how good or bad these units actually are, because they are very solid in my respects. But with that being said, that is pretty much it from me. We'll talk about his links now, but I think we've seen more than enough to suggest just how good he is as a unit. And we have discussed, in general, his link sets and how they all kind of flow together. But yeah, as a unit, this guy is very good, just like his counterpart Gamma 1, and the two of them together make probably the strongest pairing in the game, if not the strongest pairing in the game. So to talk about his links just a little bit more, and potentially what you could be looking in for a linking partner, he's got the Innocence, Android Assault, Red Ribbon Army, Shocking Speed, Hero of Justice, Signature Pose, and Fierce Battle. The Innocence goes from a 10% link to a 15% link at max level. Android Assault's one of the very good ones, going from 10% defense to 20% defense and 2 key. Red Ribbon Army goes from attack of 10% to defense of 10% and attack of 10%. Shocking Speed goes from key +2 to key +2 plus defense of 5%. Hero of Justice goes from 25% to 25% attack and crit chance of 5%. Signature Pose goes from key +2 to key +3 and attack of 7%. And Fierce Battle goes from attack of 15% to attack of 20%. Overall, pretty decent link set, like I've said a couple times. Like I said, you're mainly going to be looking at splitting in between units like Android 13, Android 21, some of the Android 17s and 18s who are going to have Android Assault, who are going to have Red Ribbon Army, who are going to have Fierce Battle. And these 3 links give them more than enough. They will give him in total 30% defense, 30% attack, and they'll give him 2 key. That's very good. That's most units' entire link sets, so you don't really have to stretch too far. Obviously, that's mainly on the Android side, so it is slightly more difficult, I guess, to get all of these things together when you are just looking specifically at maybe a movie heroes team. It does become slightly more challenging. There are units like Android 18 on that team But instead on that team you could probably focus on something like the Innocence, Shocking Speed, Fierce Battle, maybe throw in a Heroes of Justice somewhere or a signature pose, and you shouldn't really have the biggest issue. Again, it all comes down to the premise of how much do you need to cater to this unit. You don't really. He and Gamma 1 both provide support to the rotation for a reason, giving 2 key and attack of 30% in kind of a way to make up for their weaker link sets. So realistically speaking, there is actually a pretty decent build in within this guy. In terms of equipment, like I said, mainly focus on full additional. Otherwise, depending on how many dupes you have, you can throw on a defensive equipment. I think at 55%, defensive equipment is considered okay. It will help to take the edge off of some of the attacks in the harder events, but overall, I just think he's very good. You don't need to cater to him too much defensively. His raw defense will cover him for the most part. He's also got the high chance of nullifying Ki Blast supers, which does obviously help out. But beyond that, yeah, don't really worry too much about these things. You should be more than fine. His defense will definitely always be enough for normals. Strictly speaking, whether it's enough for super attacks will depend on how many additional attacks he gets, and also as well as his links that are active at the time. But with that being said, nothing too much else to highlight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe, and as always, see you guys next time. Bye.